Monday morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on Journey Through Parenthood. I'm Martina Bills. We appreciate you taking your time out of your day. Today's topic is co-parenting through the holiday season. And you know, the holiday season for every family, no matter what your home life is like, can be a lot. Juggling, going to this relatives or this relatives and seeing these friends and getting together and exchanging gifts. But when there is a divorce situation or separation, you know, the parents are no longer together, juggling those schedules can be quite difficult and stressful. So we're talking to a family attorney about how to co-parent successfully during the holidays.
The most salient point you can ever make in that situation is be flexible. Be flexible and try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Remember to put your children's interests in front of your own. That is the hard. Speaking from personal experience, that is truly the hardest to try and picture what it's like to be your child and what your child is feeling. So that's tough. Be flexible.
And you know, this process obviously can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. It usually is in any way, shape, or form you look at it. But talk a little bit about why it can be so stressful, and always to keep that child in the forefront.
Yeah, I think what most people don't realize is that when folks get divorced, generally speaking, one of them is ready to be divorced, and in fact, in his or her own mind, probably has been divorced for some time. The other person is never on the same page at the same moment. So what happens is two people get divorced because once one of them decides to be divorced, the other can't really stop that from happening in the long run. And then you have a person who's divorced and one who really emotionally is not divorced. And so there's a lot of conflict there. The one who's not divorced is possibly trying to reestablish a relationship, and that gets in the way of co-parenting effectively and in the best interest of your children. And so you really have to, if you're the person who has been divorced for some time, you really have to put yourself in the other person's shoes and be sensitive to his or her emotions and that romance that is still in his or her mind, and the anger because they don't understand why you left. And so that's the hardest, that's probably the most difficult, and it can last for a long time. So you can have many Christmases where the kids are stuck in the middle, where the parents are not on the same page at all. And somehow you need to get through that and get the other person on the same page with you. And usually that is, the best way to handle that is through a third party, through a marriage counselor or a parenting counselor, that kind of person who can help you deal with the emotions that aren't gone yet.
And, you know, Joryn, when you think about it, being realistic really may be the best bet when you're looking at the totality of the holidays with, you know, trying to go here, trying to go there. You know, some people have multiple family homes they go to, and,
Yeah.
you know, someone
Oh
may
gosh.
not. So realistically, it's just trying to be realistic and sensitive to everyone involved.
It's funny because I just the other day watched a movie, not a terribly wonderful movie, but not a horrible one, called Four Christmases. And no children actually involved except on the sidelines in this movie. But the point was that both sets of parents had been divorced. So you had mom and her new husband, dad and his new husband, and then the other person's mom and her new husband, and dad and his wife. Uh, and it gets confusing. And so they had to go to four different houses, the two people who were thinking about getting married to each other. And each house was so completely different from the next. Can you imagine if the children had to go through that as well? And well, I shouldn't say, can you imagine? Because maybe you're in that situation where, you know, you have four sets of grandparents that you need to visit. Oh, and now wait a second. If you and your spouse are divorced, what does that look like? It gets there are lots of families involved, and lots of, we think of them as third parties, but they don't think of themselves as third parties. They're grandparents or step grandparents who are equally. I mean, I just had my first grandchild, and he happens to be my step grandchild, and I'm terrifically excited about that. I mean, we all care about these little tiny human beings, and we want to be involved with them. And so how do we make everybody happy? You cannot, but if everybody is flexible and everybody puts the children's interests first, it will all work out.
Yeah, and you just said like you're not going to be able to make everyone happy, but you all have to be on the same page. And really, Joryn, when you were saying all that with all those families intertwined, those traditions change. And I think that what could be upsetting sometimes is when, someone may not be able to do something that they typically did during the holiday season, and that can be tricky.
So create new traditions. We did that in my own family. My daughter, my stepdaughter, used to have Christmas on Christmas morning. So did I when I was a kid growing up. But maybe you did Christmas Eve. Well, some of our friends did Christmas Eve. And so what we did with her was, one year she spent Christmas morning with us. The next year she spent it with her mother. And then we would flop our own Christmas. We would celebrate Christmas Eve instead of Christmas morning when we had her Christmas Eve. And so she was actually a pretty lucky kid because she got 2 complete Christmases every year from the time she was 4 years old on. But you can create new traditions, and it's going to be very interesting because this is her son who was just born, and we're trying to figure out what kind of Christmas we're going to be doing. And we've got new grandparents over on the other side too. So this child probably has 4 sets of grandparents.
Yeah, and Joryn, that's the thing, and those traditions create new traditions, make them the best ever, and then those still may change every year. It's not going to be, every year is going to be different.
Right. It's kind of like, is it ham or is it turkey? Come on.
Yeah.
Ham is wonderful, but so is turkey.
Yeah. And, what do you see as a family attorney who deals with these kind of situations when they're going through mediation and scheduling? What do most families, or what do you suggest the families do when it comes to balancing out these times, and whether they're the scheduled times and they interrupt? And especially this year, the Christmas holiday is actually on a Sunday. So that kind of throws a wrench into, those weekends that a parent may have their child, but it may be different with the schedules.
Yeah, again, I go back to the traditional rule: be flexible, put yourself in the other spouse's, the former spouse's shoes. You need to, I think, be nice. The be naughty, be nice. No, be nice. Try and eat a meal together occasionally. And around Christmas, it may be that I know a lot of the families that I've gotten divorced have established one of their traditions is to do a holiday meal with both of the parents, both of the birth parents, and possibly with step parents also. Eating a meal together is actually breaking bread together is a great way to demolish barriers. We do it in the American Inns of Court, which is a group of lawyers that get together to break bread together. So you may be fighting it out in court one day, but that evening you might be having dinner together. And it's really hard to stab someone in the back when you're going to have dinner with them that same night.
Yeah.
And so the same thing can be true of divorced families. And I recommend that often to my parents, who then do it and report back that it's very helpful.
What do they say after that? Because I know that also has to be beneficial to the children to see, they can all be, friendly.
I remind people parenting is never easy. Number one, you're always a parent for the first time. It's never like there's, someone who knows how to parent from the get-go. You do the best you can. And even when you're happily married, parenting together is never easy. I can tell you that I have asked people time and time again, did you sit down and discuss these things before you got married? People never discuss whether McDonald's is going to be an acceptable dinner option before they get married and before they have children. And then you end up with a parent who becomes vegan after she's been divorced for a while, and the other parent is still taking the kids to McDonald's. And this becomes a huge conflict of huge importance. No, you cannot. You chose this person to be the dad or the mom.
On how to get along with your co-parent for the child or children's sake during the holidays. You know, the Christmas holiday is actually on a Sunday this year, and that can interrupt the typical weekend schedules when you're co-parenting. And the children usually have an extended break over the holidays, their winter break. So it does throw a wrench in a lot of the typical routines that the children are used to. But Joryn Jenkins really hits home with, make it flexible, don't sweat the small stuff, and go with the flow. The children are the most important thing, especially around the holidays. Everyone wants to see the child, whether they're a step-parent, step-grandparent, and really just make sure everyone is on the same page, and schedules change. Be flexible. And you know, these traditions that you really thought were a tradition last year may change this year because of people's schedules and where you're going to spend the holidays. So again, just go with the flow, make the most of it, and make sure that child is happy with the holiday season. So a lot of good information. I'm going to show you Joryn's website. She has a website. This is her law firm's website, but she has her blog over here. And as she was telling us, she has a book and some podcasts, and her blog has a lot of good posts on it about when you're going through the divorce process and separation with her expertise. And it can really be a good little point of view for if you're dealing with some of those same things as well. So her law firm is openpalmlaw.com, and she has a really good blog. So we always like to share our ideas here on Journey Through Parenthood. And if you have ideas you would like to share with me here at WSAZ, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can let me know some ideas. We have a lot of good topics coming up for the new year. We're already making some of those stories happen here at the WSAZ Now desk, and we'll be sharing with you like we do every Monday and Wednesday morning right here on streaming services, Facebook Live. So we hope you enjoy your holiday season, and if you are co-parenting, keep some things in mind that Joryn said. Go with the flow. Everyone wants to see the child. Kind of make those schedule changes as flawless as possible. And you know, one thing that Joryn did say was, don't be selfish, because in the end, the selfishness factor only hurts the child or the children in the family dealing with the separation and divorce situation over the holidays. So we hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Thanks for joining us.